All right, we'll give everyone a second here to get in and have a seat. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, and it's perfect, we kind of rearranged the schedule a little bit here, segueing after the Rapid Deploy demo to talk about Vesta Map Local. So we were informed, oh gosh, probably earlier this year that the Vesta Locate, which is the mapping solution for your call handlers, has hit an end-of-life notice. So we knew that it needed to be updated. We just didn't know what direction we were going to go. So we started evaluating products. We evaluated actually several products, and we've kind of landed on Rapid Deploy is a new, we just actually was just brought to our attention. That's an option. And Vesta Map Local is also an option. So I don't know this product perfect or anything, but I've just got some screen snapshots that Motorola shared with me, and then I wanted to make a few points regarding kind of how we're evaluating these new solutions. So, so here's just a screen snapshot of what Vesta Map Local looks like. As you can see, it's modernized, and I don't know if you can see in the back very well, but this is your call carousel at the bottom, and then it has all your call information in that info panel. Those little pointers kind of show you all the information at the side, and then also, let's see, here's the next page. Here's another interface with like search and more info and other information. So I can't give you all the details on it, quite frankly, but I can tell you the GIS side of things. So that's where I'm gonna, that's my angle here. So a couple points I wanted to make with Rapid Deploy showed all sorts of really cool stuff, and they have so many neat things going on. So like when they started saying, oh, you can pull in Google services and Esri services and traffic data and all that stuff, that's all through services. So the question about how are we going to do this, is it all through the internet, was a great question. So right now in Vesta Locate, all the data is translated into a file that we actually transfer to the AT&T admin machine that's pushed out through what's called data sync to each of the clients, so each of the call handling machines. So the opportunity these two products are giving us is that we'll be able to push this data out through what's called map services. So that's something we already do at DASC. It's basically, you know, when you go to Google or any sort of a map interface, the data you're seeing there is generally generated through what's called a GIS service or a map service. So it's not going in and opening up a file and showing it to you. It's just it's an online service that you can browse and look at the data. So that's a great opportunity to move into this map service world, because that allows you to move into things like traffic cameras and weather data. And we've had the question about how do I take care of control burns, like, you know, any sort of associated data layers like that we can't actually really integrate that easily into the existing product. So that's so the end of life was one big thing, and then also knowing that we really need something that's flexible and has some good future development, some good roadmap items ahead is really what we're looking for. A couple things, so when we're doing these evaluations, we're looking at how's the user interface look? Is it modern? Is it nice appearance? What are the requirements of this particular new upgrade? Is it bandwidth? Is it you need internet access? How much is it going to cost? Does the equipment have to be upgraded? So there's a lot of things that we're working with Scott and Lori and Phil and everyone to evaluate all these different software options. Also, a big part of it for me is the administrative overhead. So right now, when you do Vesta Locate, like I said, I copy files literally, because you have to do all this manually. We script everything we can, but you literally have to copy files from one computer to another, and then you have to open up a template and let it rebuild indexes. This is all boring stuff you probably don't care about. Rebuild indexes, and then publish the data out. With these newer options, a lot of that would be more automated, and especially if it's, the data is delivered through these services, the services would just be scheduled updates. So whether we say the updates weekly or bi-weekly or whatever it is, it would just be an automatic update, and you would just have new data available without having to do a restart and things like that. So there's a lot of neat things coming with these new options. Another thing we're looking at is imagery. So a couple things to do with imagery. First off is, of course, you know, we just reflew statewide imagery, thanks to the 911 Recording Council. So that is currently in the QA process. We have, I think we're up to 50 or 60 people across the state, mostly GIS professionals, that are helping us QA that data. So it's a pretty cool process because it's a lot of imagery to look at. So we're going through and QAing that imagery, and once we have all that reviewed, the imagery vendor will have to take a look at anything we noticed was weird. We're looking for things like where a bridge looks out of alignment in the imagery, or something along a flight line's not quite right. So once they have the time to go through and process all the imagery, that will become available. So in these newer products, we wouldn't need, you know, that NAS device that you have sitting in your equipment room, that white box with all the imagery. These new products would allow us the opportunity to provide that imagery through a service. So again, another huge advancement in how we can actually get this data deployed out to the PSAP. So we're very excited about that. So once the imagery goes through QA and they have time to process it, we don't think we're actually going to see raw imagery files available for distribution until probably March. And then the service will probably come shortly after that. So when you'll actually see the imagery in your PSAP and your call handler map, kind of depends on the direction we go with some of these products. If we think that these products will be, you know, replaced sometime in 2019, we'll probably deploy the imagery with the new product. If we think there's going to be a delay with that, we'll decide if there's a better way to redeploy the imagery update using Vesta Locate. So anything, Scott, you want to add to that part? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So just so you know, these are a lot of things we're considering with these software upgrades. And we're very excited about the software upgrades because we know Vesta Locate is stable and does a great job, but it just needs kind of a refresh and allows us to expand in all these different technologies we have available to us now. Let's see here. I think that's the bulk of it. So yeah, I'm sorry I don't have you know, we've demoed this product. We've actually had it installed at the Yoder Backup Center. And we were able to bring some of our own data, and we had Motorola and AT&T show up and kind of helped us demo things and really take it for a test drive. And we were very impressed with it, good response and everything. But like I said, both of these are just really solutions for your call handler map. Just Rapid Deploy seems to offer a whole lot more of stuff too that you could take advantage of optionally. This also is already integrated with Rapid SOS, which is great for getting those precise call locations. So when they demo that, I mean, it really is coming soon with these software upgrades. The final thing I think I really want to mention was when Rapid Deploy talked about, again, the Google Esri geolocation data, we've already been in discussion with them about how we want that to be the Kansas data. So instead of using Google data or Esri data, because where do they get their data? Well, from you guys, quite frankly. So we want the Kansas data to be the driving factor for that. So we're in discussion with them on how they can ingest our services and also the authentication of that. So there's still a lot of ongoing discussion. We're actually meeting with them weekly, the Rapid Deploy group, about that. So I want to make sure you know that we're not going to suddenly start relying on Google or some other mapping vendor for our data. We'd be using the Kansas data for that. Some other things they pulled in, which are all services. He talked about Department of Transportation railroad crossings. I know that's been something that's been asked about. They pulled in, I think it was wildfire burns, things like that. So all these items, all that data is available through services. I think it's just, we'll have to decide at some point in time, depending on what product we use, how much data we want. Because we don't need also to have so much data that you're like, oh my gosh, there's too much going on for me just to get my call taken care of. So all things to consider. Most of those sources are federal sources and haven't really been locally vetted. So that's why we've kind of been hesitant on putting up like Department of Transportation railroad crossings, because we've been told it's really great in some areas and not so great in other areas. So just things to consider that we know there's lots of data out there, and we're evaluating that as well as what would be best to be implemented into these solutions and what is the best solution for Kansas going forward. So that's kind of my 2 cents on on Rapid Deploy and Vesta Map Local. Any questions on that kind of integration or things we're considering? Okay, no, I bored you with the GIS geek details, I know. Well, if you have any questions in the future about specifically your data or how the data would be integrated, things like that, we're still working through some of that, but feel free to contact me and be able to help you out with that. So.